I'd like to call the October 26, 2022 meeting of the Ogden Town Board to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd ask that you remain standing for a moment of silent reflection and prayer for our military servicemen and women serving around the world, as well as for our first responders. Thank you. As we start tonight, we had to reschedule the first public hearing for the rezoning on land 0 Gillette Road, tax map number 117.02-1 -6.111. We're going to reschedule that for next meeting. So we actually have to wait 4 minutes for the public hearing on the budget.
If you want, you could always go ahead and do the first resolution. It's up to you.
You know what? I'll take a second to explain one thing and then we'll go from there. Okay, so what we're gonna go forward with at 7:05 as scheduled is the public hearing, the preliminary 2023 budget presentation of the town of Ogden. And what I would invite you to do, if you'd like, is to move forward in your chairs. This is the screen. It's a new screen. It's not networked to all 3 of the TVs yet, but this is where the presentation will happen. So if you think you might have trouble reading some of the smallest words, I invite you to move forward. The board's actually going to join you on the chairs for that. And and while our 5th member of our board is not here, he is joining us via Zoom. Legally, he cannot vote, but he is here observing as well.
There's also slides in the presentation on the back.
Thank you. There are slides in the back table if anyone that didn't hear that wants to. So as we shift and adjust, we'll start the presentation right at 7.
Did the water through? It's trying. All in.
Madam Clerk, if you wouldn't mind reading the public.
Notice is hereby given that the 2023 preliminary budget of the town of Ogden 2023 preliminary special district assessments for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2023 have been completed and will be available in the office of the town clerk, 269 Ogden Center Road, Spaceport, New York, 14559, on October 13th, 2022, where it will be available for inspection by any interested persons during regular business hours. Further notice is hereby given that the town board of the town of Ogden will meet and review such preliminary budget and special district assessments and will act on any other official business that may come before said board, will hold a public hearing thereon at the Ogden Community Center, 269 Ogden Center Road, Spaceport, New York, at a regular meeting of the town board to be held on Wednesday, 26th day of October, 2022 at 7:05 p.m. And at such public hearing, all persons may be heard in favor or against the preliminary budget. Pursuant to section 495 of the real property tax law, the property tax exemption impact report is also available in the town clerk's office. Pursuant to section 113 of the town law, the proposed salaries of the following town officers are specified as follows: supervisor, 92,000; councilman, 12,624 each, for a total of 50,496. Town clerk, 75,989. Town justices, 2 at 39,100, for a total of 78,200. Superintendent of highways and public works, 103,388 dollars.
I'd like to welcome the town of Ogden's finance director, Brian Grant, to present the budget.
Okay. I'm Brian Grant. I am the town of Ogden finance director. I promise to make this more fun than a road. Yeah, right. And finance. All right. So up here we have the budget summary. There are three main funds, which is the general fund, which is village and town. There's the part-town non-village. There's the highway non-village. Those are the three main funds of the budget. There's also town drainage, and there are special lighting and sewer districts. And we're going to go through all of those. Let's see. You see up there, there's appropriations, which are expenditures, estimated non-tax levy revenues, fund balance, and it'll give you the last column is the tax levy. Fund balance is surplus or deficit from prior years. We usually budget to use fund balance, but good spending habits and good controls, the last few years, the general, part-town, and highway have not used it. So, all right, for the tax levy information. This slide up here shows you that we are keeping the tax rate the same for 2023 as in 2022. It also shows the difference between 2021 and 2022, and that was the ambulance district input for that year. All right, so New York State has a formula for a tax cap. 2% is the maximum of increase in levy. The calculation for the tax cap is $8,444,953. Our proposed tax levy is $8,348,822, and we are planning to be under the tax cap by $96,000. Tax levy history, you'll see 2023 proposed is $8,347,000 compared to the 2022 of $8,135,000. So that's just over a $200,000 increase, and that is due to new build taxable values. These, again, there's three main funds in the budget: the general fund, and the general fund gives you a variety of different services for both the village and the town. You see these all listed up here. The non-village part-town fund gives you additional services along with the highway non-village fund. There's also the special districts in the budget. So for 2023 budget assumptions, the town has no debt and there's not expected to incur any debt in 2023. That means there's no interest being paid with your taxable dollars. Some assumptions. We had a 3% wage increase. We reallocated some staff from one department to another. Cost of utilities are increasing. We have a couple of biannual audits that don't happen every year, so there's additional expense for those. Workers' comp and liability insurance is increasing. And there's a 7% increase in cost to healthcare. Historically, we've budgeted for employees to take family coverage, and so we have some savings usually, but not everybody takes them. One of the main three components of the budget is the general fund. The general fund budget for 2023 is $8,394,000. Of that, the main portion of the tax levy is $5,964,000. I'd like to highlight some special projects, some high ticket items in the general fund budget. We have some town hall improvements. The LED lighting is going to be switched out to maximize electricity cost savings. We are going to upgrade the bathroom over here in the main hallway. And the carpet and flooring is from 1994, so it's time to upgrade that. We also are budgeting in for a new police vehicle, 4 new highway garage vans, some cardio equipment and gymnasium upgrades. And we're going to update the employee manual and get a learning management system with HRWorks. So these are the categories of expense distribution. Personnel 40%, employee benefits is 23%, equipment is 6%, and contract expenses, which is anything else we buy, is 31%. By department, the distribution is the police department of the general fund, not the overall budget, is 35%. Recreation is 9%. Ambulance is 7.5%. Library 7.2%. Highway 5.5%. Building and ground 5.4%. Those are just the largest ones. The next group of departments are between 2% and 5% in the general fund. You see those listed there in the blue bubble. The ones listed in the green bubble are less than 1% of the general fund budget. Our part-town non-village fund budget, which is the smallest of the three largest budgets. The budget is $1.121 million. Tax levy in that budget is 0, and that's due to sales tax revenue, franchise fees, and permit fees. The special projects and high ticket items in the part-town non-village fund are a software called Unicity. The software makes applying for and tracking permits available to residents online, and inspectors will be able to be more efficient by being mobile and uploading documents and pictures while they're at the properties. We also have scheduled mower replacements and the handball court resurfacing at Conway Ponds is used daily by people doing different sports. Let's see, categories of the part-time non-village expenses are personnel 42%, employee benefits 22%, equipment 3%, and contracted services 32%. By department, building inspection and parks are the largest two. They make up 87% in total. And the other departments in the part-town non-village fund are here in the dark blue, and they make up, each one makes up less than 5% of the part town. The highway non-village fund budget is $5,009,000. The tax levy that makes up that part of that budget is $1,006,000. The high ticket and special projects in that highway non-village fund are, the board approved a new safety full-time coordinator to comply with new state mandates. We are adding fuel tanks because we're losing the use of the state fuel tanks across the street. And 2 dump trucks that were scheduled to be replaced. The highway non-village expense percentages by category: personnel is 25, employee benefits 18, equipment is 22, and contracted services 34. By department, see in the green, street maintenance 67, other government services 9, machinery 7. There's a few other departments in highway non-village budget that are less than 5%, and they are in the blue. All right. So we'll go to the special districts. See listed up here are the special districts: lighting, drainage, and sewer. There's not much change to any of these except for the townwide drainage, and that's because there needs to be maintenance of the off-road drainage and new regulations regarding catch basins. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Well, the total assessment is for the town and the assessment, total assessment for the whole.
The total assessment for town and village is 1.3 billion, I believe. And the total assessment for the village is 1.077.
Go back to the slide with the tax cap.
Sure.
Yeah. Can the board come up so that you're on the?
Come on back up here if anybody has any questions. please come.
Yeah, it changed. Originally, we had in, so it was a reduction for of $130,000. And that got taken out. There's no carryover.
Oh, yes. So one of the things that Councilman Baker is pointing out is that on the sheets that we have, we can take a look at carryover. So in some instances, we can actually increase. Let me start by saying this. When the state says we have 2% tax cap, it's not a true 2%. The 2% also factors in this tax-based growth factor. We have to include pilots, allowable levy growth factor. So all these different numbers that they throw in. And one of the things that we're allowed to do is carry over any levy from previous years so that we can increase it even further. Problem is, you can't carry over any tax levy when you go over the tax cap in a previous year. And when we went through the process of the ambulance district, there was a lot of conversation over whether that had to be included into our general or if they could collect taxes on their own, similar to the way the fire district can. And if the district itself cannot collect its own taxes, it has to be included within the budget. Ambulance services in New York State cannot collect their own taxes. That's why we have to go over the cap, which is why we have none to carry over like we did in previous years.
And that information wasn't available at the time.
Great question.
So I was just trying to follow along.
Yeah. The fact that I can explain it should tell you just how many hours every day I've spent on this thing. Gary, come on up.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I'm Gary Anzano from 286 Glen Road. Just wondering, how did you determine how much the ambulance amount was going to be this year?
The ambulance amount stayed exactly the same. And the way that it was proposed to us in the first year is that they had an overall amount that was necessary in order to fulfill their duties. And that was split up between 4 municipalities: Gates, Ogden, Spencerport, and Parma, all with the same tax rates, but different amount that that each municipality has a different amount of revenue that's being collected and given. That amount hasn't increased this year, so we didn't come up with a number. That's what was proposed to us, similar to the way the library functions.
Okay. As many of you know, I questioned the original number a year ago. And I'm all in favor of an ambulance. I don't want to get labeled with that. But the dollars do bring questions in my mind. So as you know, last year I brought up the idea that where did this number come from? And well, the mayor of Spencerport said, well, this is the numbers they gave us. And I said, well, it's very nice. And I can give you numbers also, but is anybody in the finance department of Spencerport or Ogden or South Parma going to go through these numbers to look at it? To my knowledge, that hasn't happened. I know you're pretty much brand new. So it's like, are we being sold a bill of goods? Later during the meeting, the mayor talks, and I don't mean to put the mayor down, him and I are good friends. We had a disagreement here. So he says, well, I texted the ambulance company and some audit or something said that's the amount. I said, well, that's fine, and that's their auditor and all that. That's not our one. Then, this is the rub. Very conveniently, the amount that they came up with translated to the exact same tax rate that's in Gates, 46 cents a thousand. So I think a little honesty and transparency is needed from the ambulance company. I believe, and I'm convinced, that they just took the Ogden assessments and multiplied it by 46 cents a thousand and said, okay, this is how much money we need. I also find it odd that the year before, they didn't get any money, but a year later, we're getting $630,000. It's like, wow. That's quite a difference from one year to the next. So, you know, you're surviving now, but all of a sudden we need 630,000, and we need it every year thereafter, which also translates to 46 cents a thousand. Now, to make matters worse, I suppose a lot of you saw the Suburban News article with the Village of Hilton and Joe Lee, who I also know very well, who also sent us a letter because we had properties in Hilton, based on they weren't happy with the way the ambulance deal down there came through. That's a different ambulance service over there. However, coincidentally, they needed $457,000. And guess what? It translated to 46 cents a thousand. Now, do any of you find that odd?
3 in a row.
Yeah, I think there is.
Yeah.
I told the guys in the coffee shop yesterday, I said, I want to ask you that. If you want to see 5 blank faces, come over here with me. I want to ask you that. And does anybody see that eye? I said, maybe you're going to see 5 blank faces. I don't know. But I got a smile from a couple of you, so that's not blank. All right. I really think that it ought to be looked at. And I'm not questioning the service of the ambulance. I also wonder, there must be some paid management for the ambulance. Does anybody know what the highest paid management is for the ambulance here?
So the last time that they came, one of the things that we've done, because we're the fiscal oversight for the Gates ambulance in this part of the district, is we've asked them for quarterly updates, financial updates. And we did at this last meeting, ask them for basically the year-end update, basically their tax return, so that we can see the revenues and outputs. And this essentially being the first complete year, and in taking a look at that, one of the things that we're going to have to do is add up the total number of calls and sort of translate that into what it was before versus what it would be going forward, to see if it even makes any sense. I mean, there's no doubt we are subsidizing ambulance service, but at the end of the day, part of the reason that is even in the paper is because ambulance services across the county and across the state and country are going bankrupt. They can't support it because
That's not the question.
No.
The point is the transparency and the honesty here.
Sure.
Once somebody, to me, is dishonest, and I believe they're dishonest in saying, this is how much we need, and oh, by coincidence, that's what Gates pays and we pay, and nobody pays 48 cents or 40 cents. I believe it's dishonest.
Well, I think, Gary, I think you raised the same point last year. When
Not
you-
here, but at
No,
another
you did.
meeting.
When you said, yeah, you did. You said, you know, how did this number come about? And, you know, what do you know about the number? And coincidentally, if you take the rate times, it comes up. And
And now it got worse. What helped it? With the same rate?
that, I don't want to say that's not our problem, but you're,
Well, it is.
well, the issue, as the supervisor pointed out, is that they did not have, they had a budget for the year prior to last year. And, you know, by January, February, March, they knew whether they had reached that budget or whether they had a shortfall in revenue or increase in expenses. We are now, and we said this last year when you raised this question, that we would receive this year the first full year's budget analysis. And if we can't receive it in September or October, we're going to receive it in January, February, to show all the revenue and all the expenses and how they spent the money that they had. That will allow the town to audit this year's revenue and expenses. And
And did they audit the previous year?
we didn't, there wasn't
It
anything.
doesn't matter.
No,
They're asking for 680,000 for this year. Did they see, they said they were short that much. Did anybody check the year before?
all they indicated was that this is what we spent.
It's not the right way to do it.
And you raised that a year ago, and we said, look, we were at,
We've had a year to audit the previous year. And then said, okay, yeah, you are 636,000 short. So that was on the books last year. We could have audited it, not just us, but Spencer Ford and South Carolina. Does anybody know what the highest paid person is in that ambulance?
I haven't
I mean, to me, these are important questions. I've been here in this town a long time, 4 years. And believe me, there's been a lot longer meetings and a lot less money than this. There's been meetings that have lasted an hour, 2 or 3, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000. We're talking $630,000, 7.5% of the budget forever.
And
So-
I might say to that point, Gary, the number of phone calls we've had complaining about this has been next to nothing. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean that we shouldn't know the answer to your question, but
And I know why. I understand, because most people just don't pay attention to these stuff. And most people, myself included, trust the Republican town board. But there are a few of us that we look into things, and I'm not saying that anybody here is doing anything wrong, except that the fiduciary duty ought to be that let's take a look at this. If Dan came over and said, I need another $500,000 for the highway department next year, I think you guys would be grinding the numbers. But nobody's grinding these numbers. That's all I'm saying. Maybe they can justify it, but I don't think so. Not on the tax.
Here, I think it is a good point that we could take their 20,
And I don't mean to raise my voice.
20,
It's just-
Take
I
the
know
20
the season's 46 cents, oh, 46 cents. It just doesn't.
Well, it would be a good thing to look at their 21
Welcome,
Thanks.
Anyone else have anything to come and approach the board about regarding the budget or the presentation today? Going once. Going once. I will close the public hearing then on the budget. Brian, really well done. Appreciate your hard work and efforts on this.
Right.
Before we move on, is there anything that the board has for Brian on the budget? Okay, then we will move on with resolution 289 to approve the minutes of the October 12th meeting.
So
Moved by Councilman Hinman, seconded by Councilman Trujillo. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next is privilege of the floor. If anyone would like to come and discuss any topic, including the budget for the board, feel free to come forward, state your name and your question. And seeing none, we'll close the privilege of the floor. We will move to reports from town officers. The board joins me in a ribbon cutting for new ownership at Pinewood Country Club. It was a great ceremony. We appreciated the opportunity to be there and celebrate with the new owners. I did take a minute to also, on behalf of the town, recognize the Spencerport School Board for School Board Recognition Month. We took time last week, I believe, to update some of the videos, the town-wide videos that we have that sort of market a bit of what we do here. Thanks to Andrew for being part of that, and to Chief Gray for being part of it, a couple other people that were part of that. I did last week take a tour of the new Golisano Community Engagement Center over at Roberts Wesleyan University. It's not a college anymore. And to see some of the progress that's being done there. We give a lot of praise to our building department who's worked with them in hand to get things up and running in there. They're doing a great job. It's getting there. They projected to be completely done by the end of December into January. Tomorrow night, right here at Town Hall, 6 p.m., there is the Assembly Minority Task Force on School Safety and Security hosted by Assemblyman Jensen. And it's a hearing, a public hearing that's taking place. The public is welcome to join, but they have testimony from witnesses that are coming to inform the state assembly on this topic. As you can see, the AV project is almost done. We've got the TVs here. We've got all of the parts. We just have to make one last connection so that the three TVs communicate. Got a touch panel over there, and that way we won't have cables running around everywhere. So excited to put that to a close. And the police department did get their flooring and carpet project complete, with the exception that they need to put one coat over the linoleum, right? It's not linoleum. Sure. So awful lot going on. That's just some of the things. So next, Councilman Baker.
Yes, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be with the fellow board members at the ribbon cutting at Pinewood. It was a nice event to see, and it's great to see the improvements that are being done over there. The only update I had was on October 17th, we had our steering committee meeting with the comprehensive plan body, going over couple things, just looking at the overall comprehensive plan, looking over the balance between development in the town and, our rural character. Seems to be something that the steering committee is taking a long, hard look at as to where we allocate and decide where future development is going to be done in the town. talking about future sewer usage possibly, and where we want to put, our resources and time into making, things a little bit more, I guess, amiable towards our residents. When the town's growing, you gotta have places for them to recreate, you gotta have places for them to shop, to, do things. So it's a fine balance that, the steering committee is really taking a good hard look at as far as, finding that, with the needs of its residents, but also trying to keep the rural character of this town. And it's a town that is very desirable to want to move to and live in. We all know this. So we're looking at it from a 10-year lens. What is the next steering committee going to say about this group 10 years from now? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What are some of the things that we could do better? And so that's really what this group is looking at, and we're plugging along at it. It's doing a really good job. So I'm glad to be part of it.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, I think that's an important update. So thanks for sharing, because I do think at some point this board will be tasked with coming up with updating a future use map and our willingness or tolerance for certain types of expansion or not. And that's something that this board is going to be tasked with giving vision based on the feedback of the steering committee. So look forward to that at some point next, probably spring. Councilman Trevino.
Nothing in this.
Councilman Hibbett.
Just good mirror sentiments of Supervisor Roselle and Councilman Baker. With the event we went to at Pinewood, it was a great event. And plus, just this time of year, it's a great time to be around and be outside and be around a golf course. Also, nothing new to report from the zoning board or the planning board, and
Good. Councilman Thomas is not with us tonight. Highway Superintendent Dan Wolf.
Few things. The fuel system, we had a meeting on the 28th. Any board member or supervisor was invited to it. Town highway department, chief will be over there too. We'll discuss the fuel system and the gasoline between the companies that we're going to be using, doing that we're going to use in the state when we remodel that over there. And also on Monday, the 31st, we have a lawnmower demonstration. Then again, the board is more than welcome to come and see it. It's a remote control lawnmower to mow our ponds, our storm ponds, that can rock in between houses. It's something that doesn't destroy the property and cut down on some of our phone calls. Our leaf season's going along pretty well. We got 3 trucks out. I'll have them out again tomorrow. Dump probably 2 trucks a day to each truck, so they dump about 6 loads of leaves a day that they're picking up in the town. And they're dropping pretty quick now. That's about it.
what time are you doing that? Showing up at 4?
The fuel is 2 o'clock on Friday, and the mower is 10 o'clock at the town hall. At highway department. So mower will cut along in a 47-degree angle, which we're looking at more of the reason for a safety issue. Getting the people in the backyard, it's remote control, so they just stand there and they operate it. Apparently a 14-year-old kid operated for highway department where they're all standing there watching it. Mow the whole lawn. The guys, supposed to be a good system. It's got 3 different type of blades on it, so it can mulch. It fell up to a tree like 2 inches diameter, so it should work out for us.
I've been telling my kid that playing games and playing games is gonna get a job, and now you're telling me you can't.
No, we can't hire for that. But so that anybody can basically run those.
Well, and having worked for my dad as a kid, doing those ponds at Buckland's Car Wash, for sure tipped a couple walk behinds into the pond now and then. So I don't know
It's
that.
easier to tip a lawnmower into a pond and hit somebody on it. If somebody get hurt and injured.
Good. Noel Burley, our town clerk.
Report this time.
Mr. Stumpf.
Just the last couple of weeks, the only thing that was, happening, we did receive a notice of claim. That relates to an incident, that happened obviously in the town and involved town equipment. Now it's been turned over to our insurance carrier. We do have coverage, so, it's in the hands of the carrier for representation. That's it.
Very good, thank you. We will move on to new business, but before we get there, we are moving some of the resolutions. As I said at the beginning of this meeting, we did have to postpone the public hearing for the rezoning on Gillette Road. There were two resolutions that were related to that, so the first resolution, subsequent resolutions, just will have different numbers based on what was published online. So just want to make a note of that. So, Madam Clerk.
Sure, so we're starting with resolution 291 regarding the adopting of the 2023 preliminary budget of the town of Athens.
We should start with 290, which our works resolution.
Oh, sorry, you have to miss that one. Authorizing an agreement with HR Works for the provision of human resource management support.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilman Baker, seconded by Councilman Freeman. Is there any discussion on the second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next resolution,
Sorry, now we're back.
that's okay, was originally resolution 293, renames 291.
And that is adopting the 2023 preliminary budget as the town of Athens 2023 annual budget.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilman Baker, seconded by Councilman Freeman now. Any discussion on this?
Yeah, that resolution should reflect that you're also adopting all the special district.
Is there a change within the language that needs to be?
No, I just, it should reflect that the resolution is also relates to all the special district budgets. Yeah,
Great.
as presented.
Any other discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. And then that's it. For a matter of adjournment, we have motions.
Motion.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilman Nimitz, seconded by Councilman Baker. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Sure.